One of the main issues that for me continue to also agitate my mind has to do with the issue of citing drinking sports and beer bars around these stadia and sports facilities. One, you cannot enter the stadium with alcohol, but the people just take it before entering.
We need to take football a lot more serious. The rules of football is not just the rules on the field. Mr. Speaker, what are the protocols for making a football field fit for purpose? Not everywhere is fit for purpose. What we are playing football on are what we call parks. They don't qualify to hold soccer matches. We must take the licensing of stadia very, very important. And when we begin to do, you realize that many places such as Nsoatreman will not qualify to host football matches, let alone for us to die the way we are dying.
And a Thursday, February 20th, 2025, abusuafo ye mamu nyina kwa Ghana Native Sunie. Mr. also be me a subscribe button so amame na wabitimi abeka family no bi the video bia ne update bia tuma na onso wanya kwan hu bi na onso abehwe bi betima like na wa comment na wa share enso e dia mayen. Abusua ene de Nana Yaw Pooley Wadru or my Ghana membership of mu parliament na yura Pooley echo parliament no he went there in a positive mode kyerese abusia yama abusia fo nyina ya ko Pooley abusia Asante Kotoko my Ghana man nyina football fraternity no ewo ensemo a esie no ho na yenua Pooley wu na abusia yade ne nso ede nsakraye changes akese na ebeba o my Ghana football ene CDC esiakan enso ewo man mu na yekase no enra o my Ghana membership of in Speaker of Parliament ya wotene dwemo Yura Bernard Ahiafo or Superintendent Emma ye membership of ni big questions won busaye na fin small do bi o mo kan de fa yenu na Pooley wo no ho no wonom etimi di ho nkomo ekyekere ya anamo aban bitu no wo mo so de etodwa nipa okofa asene bae no onumunyamfo Dixon Cheredua ya ono na akobrekum West abato mpesua so a woye omomrahye bwani ono ne kofa asem bae ekiremu so ono ankasa no yen sentroni ya de ha ne ye pa ya fimpimienu ene ba 2001 asem kase to my Ghana ebra Kumasi Asante Kotoko ne Accra House of Folk ball a asem si mani pa baako ha ene aduono nson 127 ehro monkwa no ha ye pa free ho no yenua Pooley wi pa na no abe Kenya mu a ama Ghana yem football fraternity no ama ensema hodo abemodi tudwa so ogidie yese de asie no yenua Pooley wo no de nsakra beba na mentimo atentokwa ene watimo akame ba ewo ball bo emu ene ball bo akire no empanifo betimi ayi no akwa enso de fro yentie sene onumunyamfo Dixon Cheredua ehye ne nsem no ase na subsequent speakers nso de omode to aso na busua ye de ni nyina nso mu nkiremu abremo baako
24 years ago, Mr. Speaker, as a young sports journalist myself, working at the Radio Windy Bay, I was in Accra Sports Stadium on that fateful day on the 9th of May 2001 to cover Kumasi Asante Kotoko Accra House of Folk Premier League game match. On that fateful day, Ghana recorded the most tragic event in its history, when 127 lives were lost as a result of football violence. Mr. Speaker, in the wake of this national calamity, the then President of the Republic, His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor, constituted a commission of inquiry, that's CI 34, to investigate the matter and make appropriate recommendations. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the far-reaching recommendations made to forestall future occurrences, football violence continues to plague the nation. Mr. Speaker, for example, Ghana were left dumbfounded when one of its topmost female referees, Teresa Bremensu, who was officiating in the 2019 Women Special Competition between prisons and Ampindakwa ladies, was beaten to pulp by the fans for what they claimed she failing to add extra time after the 90 minutes elapsed. Again in 2020, Mr. Speaker, we are aware of a Kotoko fan, Augustine Opon, who was shot in the eye when violence broke in the game against Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Brikum Chelsea. Also, just 2 years ago, my very good friend Edwin Aka, the general manager of Samates FC, and other officials and players of Samates FC were brutally assaulted in a Division 1 League match in Daboase in the game against Sky FC. Honorable Speaker, despite all the education, reminders, sensitizations, sanctions aimed at eradicating hooliganism, the act continues to be part of Ghanaian game with many casualties frequently recorded. Mr. Speaker, the situation calls for urgent action from all stakeholders. We as parliamentarians have roles to play: government, football officials, security agencies, clubs, and supporters. There is an urgent need for us to work collectively to eradicate such barbaric acts from our game. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy to note that our new indefatigable Sports and Recreation Minister, Honorable Kofi Adams, has already swung into action. In his first day in office, he met the officials of the Football Federation to fashion out plans to prevent future occurrences of such barbaric incidents in our stadia. I'm very confident with Honorable Kofi Adams, this canker will be dealt with once and for all. Mr. Speaker, I'm also aware of the high-profile meeting between the Inspector General of Police and the stakeholders of our game, which produced 33 action points for implementation to curb hooliganism in our stadia. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, I urge Ghana Football Association and the National Sports Authority to put in place stringent measures and security and safety measures to prevent such occurrences in future. These include enhanced security at stadiums, strict enforcement of disciplinary actions against violent conduct, and also intensified public education on sportsmanship. Mr. Speaker, in our beautiful game of football, there are only 3 results. Either you win, you lose, or you draw. A good sportsman will accept whatever result that comes their way. Honorable Speaker, at this grieving moment, permit me to extend my heartfelt and deepest condolences to the family of the deceased. No family should endure such a pain of a football match. I also call on all stakeholders to remain calm as the Ghana Police Service continue with their investigations to get to the bottom of the matter. Violence has no place in our football. It has no place in Ghanaian society. Let us all stand together to condemn this act and work together to ensure that our football stadia are safe. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for indulging me.
Abusuafo na yewura Dixon Chiredu akasa wie no na yewura Sammy Awuku ye ono na akọ Akuapem North abato mpesua so a woye emrahye bidwani wosan ya brantie yewura Sammy Awuku enso sore ekasa de tudwa se yare hosempa na to my Ghana no ma Pooley abusua ene Kotoko ball boko ni nyina so akọ na ade ba akọ wodi nani adi football achi wo Ghana ha hwe hunu ye pa ba akọ edi mu akotene time sansem bi sesie no poor officiating referees ahodo esoma emom begina park ni so na omudi en ball ahodo na ye games ahodo no na omo decisions bi won ma ya na emo remie pa we ene niam ahodo bi ene ka ho a enam so ema saa de no bento sɛ GF fo so mo hwɛ na wonom entu ho anamo Na afei wasan de to dwa says drinking sports ne apeteshie ba ahodo a yɛde ɛbɛn football stadiums ahodo no ɛno nso ɛha adwene yi pa wonim sɛ nipa dodo na obi okora wɔ nim nsanom kora no a ɛbrɛ ba bedru park no ano na apeteshie ba ho no wabu bi ne ade na ɛbrɛ bedru sɛ park na sɛ ball no yɛabɔ a yɛyɛ apon no a emu ayɛ de no saa brɛ na nsa no nso aba nipa ne so akyagye ti ba saa no a ɛma ɛniema yɛ ba sɛ nto ɔsrɛ ɛno nso sɛ mpanifo hwɛ na drinking sport ne apeteshie ba atwa yɛn stadium ho ahyia no yɛbɛtumi ato ho anamo ɛna security enhanced security ɔkyerɛ mu a wɔsɛ bambɔ mu nsɛm ɛyiri yie paa na yɛn games ahodoɔ no ɛtumi yɛ akɔnɔ na ɔmanfoɔ kɔ baffled na ɔmutim bɛhwɛ games yɛntie yɛwura Sammy Awuku nso the contribution no ebi
made by the Honorable colleague member of Parliament. I would also like us to also situate the matter. You cannot separate these acts of vandalism, hooliganism, and riotous behavior of fans also from sometimes poor officiating. If we cast our mind back to many of the issues around the world, anytime you have these huge disagreements among fans, at the heart of it has been a refereeing decision one way or the other. I would like us to also get the Referees Association of Ghana and the Football Administration to also pay keen attention to sometimes bad officiating or questionable officiating. I'm saying this because in today's football world, it's no longer what it used to be under the good days of Wilberforce Infum, the Golden Boy Abdul Razak and co, where football was played just to excite people or to entertain people. This time around, it's become a very commercial venture. And people get into these stands knowing very well and working out the odds on what they intend to achieve at the end of the day. I believe these acts of hooliganism are despicable, and it is about time that we don't just pay lip service to these matters when they are raised, but also get the law enforcement agencies to also enforce the laws. One of the main issues that for me continue to also agitate my mind has to do with the issue of citing drinking sports and beer bars around these stadia and sports facilities. One, you cannot enter the stadium with alcohol, but the people just take it before entering. So they enter, and the time that they reach that peak, that is when the match is also at its height. So one, we also have to be clear on the modalities and the guidelines and what we can also have around the various sporting facilities. Today we have a colleague down that I'm an unrepentant fan of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. But I also believe that in helping protect lives within the various precincts of our sports facilities, we have to look at the very things that are cited around it. Yes, you can have food joints, but the siting of sometimes some of these drinking bars is also a disturbance. Number two has to do with also enhanced security within the stadium. In the various stands, apart from having people who are wearing security badges and uniforms, you can also have plainclothes security. And that is what many of these countries are using within their stadium. So, Mr. Speaker, football is the passion of the nation. Wherever you even have small teams playing within our communities, you can see that tension is always high. How much more when it has to do with league standings and the position of these teams on the various league tables. So whilst I commend my colleague, I would like, Mr. Speaker, with your kind direction, get the sports minister to also pay keen attention, one, to the issue of security, issues of officiating and refereeing, and third issue has to do with the siting of these drinking bars around the various stadiums. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Na enu achi no na onumnyamfo Millicent yeboa amankwa ya wono so na kosunyane West abato mpasua so a woye emrahye ne mpasua so na Nsoatreman asasemisi yono na okotu onumnyamfo Ignatius bafo wa ababa wa no so enya akwanya sore kasa no de tudwa se eha no yie pa se sa asem ono na abato mpasua so na asie na oyehwe mu na kire se first aid enema bi sa ya bibisa asi ewe stadiums ahodo a wose yedi egu akwan so no ɔsrɛ mpanimfoɔ sɛ wɔn nhwɛ na yɛntu ɛho anamɔn baabawa no de to dwa sɛ asɛm no asie na ne di akyire yie paa so ɔhwɛ sɛ baabi asɛm bɛwura kɔɔto dɛm no baabia no ɛho nsusuaso bɛba abɔnten no obɛtumi ahu na wɔmatu anamɔpa de afa ho ɔma Kotoko afei yɛnnua Nana Yaw Pooley ɛne Kumase ne Ghana man nyinaa yakɔ ɛfa arɔhosɛm no a asie na ɛsan so bɛsii ɛwɔ no ankasa ne mpɛsua so.
Better and proper measures when there is much like this, because we have different supporters with different views and excitement. People come out and communicate or express their excitement in a different way. And so, with this unfortunate situation happening in my constituency, which I believe it shouldn't happen in any constituency, the entire sports ministries and heads or owners and management of football clubs should take this serious and make sure that these things do not happen again. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we should have a risk assessment before any match takes place, because we need to make sure that the park or wherever they are having these football games are well kept. We have CCTV cameras in case of emergency. We have proper security personnel. Even in addition of these military personnel can be added to it. Mr. Speaker, I believe that if much concentration and monitorization is put in place and we monitor the situation well, I don't believe that these things would happen. When this issue happened in my constituency, it called a lot of emergency, because if you look at where the ambulance service is in Nsoatreman, they went far. We couldn't even get an ambulance at this particular situation. And it's rather unfortunate that my good brother, my father, the former MP for Sunyane West, and it's something we shouldn't really be I was really worried because he's a senior colleague of mine, and I share with him at this particular situation, and I wish him well, because it can happen to anybody. And I pray that if measures are kept well and put in place, all these matters will reduce. Mr. Speaker, I would come to the point of our medical aid. We need to make sure we have first aid in situations and places like this, so that measures can be taken as early as possible. Because looking at the supporter of Kotoko, it means that if they had first aid available, we could have found a way to save him as early as possible. Again, Mr. Speaker, I would like to plead with the entire security and medical professionals, as I earlier on made, to have an emergency plan with a sports team in case there's such situation happens, so that we'll be able to help save lives and educate our fans in matters and how they should be jubilating when issues happen. And even the terrain that supporters need to, if they are ticketing that we're supposed to give to them, and monitor the number so they will not have a stampede at the park or the stadium. I think it will go a long way to help us. Thank you for the opportunity given to me, Mr. Speaker.
Maame no ekasa wie ya pe na onmunyamfo Professor Kingsley Nyakunya wono na oye kwada so abato mpesua so mrase bidwani ono so esore na odi kan ma Pooley abusua Kotoko ne Asante my Ghana man ene yene ma epe football nyina yakọ na odi to dwa se ewo se obia de hye ni tiri wa outdoor football na wo ye football bia onu se football de eye niam miensa ene pie firi mu se ukobọ ball a ona abewene wobɛluzi anaa wobɛdraw enti deɛ bɛba bia na wafa no pɛpɛɛpɛ na wakosua adeɛ de afiri mu nti ɔnte aseɛ sɛ kɔbaseɛ kɔbɔbɔ na so obi kɔlusu a na n'ani abere tentan ne saa nneɛma no ne nyinaa yɛ adeɛ ɛwɔ sɛ yɛhwɛ na yɛtumi ɛyi no akwa nso ɛde afiri mu ɛna wɔ sɛ obiara nso hunu sɛ yɛn nyinaa yɛadwene ntumi nyɛ baako sɛ kyenkyenankye a obiara mɛyɛ kotokoni obiara mɛyɛ haseni obiara mɛyɛ wei ni dabi enti na wei wɔ ha na wei wɔ ha no na yɛnte yɛn ho ase na yɛn ho kwan bɛtumi afa soɔ na yɛatena ama asomdwe aba yɛn ntam no na ɛbɛboa ama yɛn games ahodoɔ no atumi ayɛ akɔ na ama ɔmanfoɔ nso abɛhwɛ na ɔde adesrɛdeɛ ɛto Ghana yɛn bambɔkuo no anim Ghana Police Service ɛne ɔmo yɛ nhwɛmu nyinaa sɛ ɔmo homɔden biara sɛ ɔmo betumi ayɛ ɔmo ho ayɛ ha na nhwɛmu ɛsɛ fata bia na ɔmo ayɛ na nipa bɔnfo ɔmo di yɛnua Nana Pooley awuo no yɛbɛtumi ɛde ɔmo aba mmara no so animu.
Through violence. The Speaker, violence should not be allowed to fester in our society. We must understand that as human beings, we cannot all belong to the same group or association. We cannot. We can't also think alike. Because society will be of no fun if you all belong to the same society. There should be diversity in terms of ideas, diversity in terms of belonging to association. That is when we can see growth and progress. What has happened is so sad. We need to condemn it and insist that the investigation into this barbaric acts is expedited so that the culprits will face the full rigors of the law. Indiscipline in this society is becoming one too many. We must halt it. We must stop it. Indiscipline anywhere is a threat to progress everywhere. And I think that we must come to the realization that Ghana can thrive and be stronger when we understand that we have to be tolerant in all that we do. I'm a Kotoko fan. Asante Kotoko. And I've been seeing images of this gentleman, Pooley. You can see that he's a vibrant supporter of Asante Kotoko. He loves the team. The team is in his blood. And he went to support his team and couldn't come back and left behind a widow and children. This is so sad. And I'm urging those who are heading sports in this country to be proactive in providing security so that when we go to watch football or any sporting activity, we will be there having at the back of our minds that we are safe and protected. This shouldn't happen again. And I want to console the widow and the children, and that this supporter should find solace in the bosom of his maker. I also want to plead with our supporters that we should understand that in the game of football or in any sporting activity, we cannot always expect to win. We can win, we can lose, we can draw. The game of football or any sport activity is not a must win. It's not a must win. When you win, you thank God and make merry. When you lose, you take it in your strides and understand that tomorrow might be an opportunity for you to also win. And I know that Asante Kotoko will come out of this stronger and better. And I also hope that this incident, unfortunate one, will serve as a bitter lesson for Ghana sports moving forward. Football and soccer should unite us. Let us educate each other to promote football and sports to bind us and not to kill us, to bring us together and not to separate us. After all, we are the same people. Mr. Speaker, thanks for indulging me, and may the soul of our brother, Pooley, and he says what? Pooley, and other sports-loving persons who have lost their lives in such manners rest in perfect peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Owie no na onumunyamfo Isaac Adongo ye ono nso eye Bolgatanga Central emrahyebiani soreye na Isaac Adongo no ne bu ofuyi pa so he Ghana ye football field na se pitch na stadium hodo no a ye ne ye bo Premier League matches ahodo so no bebre na enye fit for standard, bebre na eye sub standard, bebre na ye football park enye stadium enti GF4 enhwe so modern share pa begu akwan so protocols ansa normal license say eye stadium na se pitch bia se bia a fit for Premier League matches and sana yetimi abobo wo so or the tudwa se wo hwe se ne nemesitie no a Nsoatreman football field na se stadium no enye proper enye fit enye up to standard se betima holdi ye football matches ahodo no nka we nyina kema ye wo so mohwe na wonum etu ho anamon afi wo hwe se Ghana emrahye fiam ne mpanifo ye a omo GF betimi ahwe na watimi akasa yi amomode nhia pagu akwan so na enkoba se eniema hodo aye tie ye hu ewo ye football mu no eno so ebeto aso na ayesa
situation for his family. And Mr. Speaker, I think that we need to take football a lot more serious. The rules of football is not just the rules on the field. Mr. Speaker, what are the protocols for making a football field fit for purpose? Not everywhere is fit for purpose. What we are playing football on are what we call parks. They don't qualify to hold soccer matches. We must take the licensing of stadia very, very important, so that we tick all the boxes to ensure that when people go to a stadium or go to a football field, that football field is fit for purpose. So we must begin to license our football fields. And when we begin to do, you realize that many places such as Nsoatreman will not qualify to host football matches, let alone for us to die the way we are dying. Mr. Speaker, I was very sad to hear my colleague mention that they were struggling to get very simple first aid. You don't have ambulances. You have no business playing football in such a field. That is a death trap. But we go there and nothing happens, so we think that is a football field. No. What was the police situation at the football field? Where were the police? What was the requirement of security that was supposed to be upheld in the stadium? In this particular instance, the information we have is that this young man had been threatened prior to the match, and that the security agencies should have known that what happened to the young man could happen, because he is accused of having made comments that did not go down well with the other club ahead of the match, and he was threatened. And yet we allowed the football match to happen without security to protect this young man. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call on you to direct the Ministry of Sports to take this matter very seriously. And that if the GFA cannot follow rigorous protocols for licensing our football stadia, we should not be playing football as a country. Because football is a serious business and it's about life. And whether you like it or not, some people are going to be dissatisfied and may take the law into their hands. Whether you like it or not, if you do not license stadia, you are going to have football fields that will play on that don't even have ambulances, where the protocol may require you to bring over 40 policemen You are right there, and only 2 policemen are there guiding and protecting scores of spectators. The end result is that people die needlessly, and we mustn't die following the passion of football. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to call on this House to take on the GFA to properly make sure that before football returns, we are prepared in all respects and that our football fields are fit for purpose. Currently, what we call football fields are just parks. They are just like we're doing in our area, where you just call neighbors across the road and you are playing football. That is what is happening. And we cannot be doing that for people to die needlessly. So, Mr. Speaker, I commend the maker of the statement, and I thank you for indulging me, except to say that this mustn't end with a talk show. We must see some action being taken to sanitize football in our country and to make sure that our football fields are safe for purpose, that we will not hear this conversation again anytime soon. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Abusuafo nti de dae koso ya ani pitiri ye de besi ya kai na hye ne nso se obemi ya subscribe button no so na wa like no wa share na do comment nso e de egu ase ye yewudidi ye se yenu no de kra eto ho e de magana football de se niema betimi akonkan na eniema nso betimi adi nti ye hwe animu se nhye ya eye Asante Kotoko ni Accra House of Folk e ka bo mu de ama GF fo ene nhye ya o my Ghana mrahibdwafie enso e de be ma GF fo no o betimi atu ho anamo na yen football no ayede ayakono na omanfo ebesa ko stadium na bibise no yensan so enti ho asem bi mu midin de ohene abusua makra mo yebesa so ababiem abe update mo